Welcome back to LCS Countdown, where only the best of the best get to compete in this arena that will test the brain power of the State Farm analysts. It's another round of Jeopardy. Y'all three pretty ready for this? 3 questions coming at you.
I'm never ready.
Primal's confident. You said never ready, Emily?
I should be confident.
Emily, I feel like you're pretty good at this. I feel like you're one of the better performers in this. Oh, my goodness.
That's my secret.
Okay.
Aww.
I know Spawn's confident. He's always confident. Question 1. Which player has had the highest damage per minute in a single 2021 LCS game?
Ooh.
Huh. It has to be one of the dirty fasting Senna players.
I was going to say, I don't need to raise my hand, but I'm going to go FBI Senna had like a 51%, right?
Okay. Emily's going FBI
That's what I'm going.
Senna.
FBI, 100 T FBI.
Spawn?
That's good.
I'm going to go Sven, just because I think I agree with Emily, but like I'm in such a contrarian mood. I just woke up on the wrong side of the bed, so
right,
you're wrong, it's Sven.
Well, also
other
damage
Senna,
percentage doesn't equal like actual damage per minute. I'm just going off of the fact that he was like 51% of his team's damage or something like that in the game.
Okay, okay. And Primal, where are you thinking?
I'm going to say something crazy like a top laner who's just been like wailing away on someone all game and then had sick team fights. Let's go with Alfari.
Okay, interesting. You know, in the lock-in tournament, there was a period where the top laners were the highest damage per minute, but it is, in fact, that FBI fasting Senna game against FlyQuest from week 2. Spawn, you played yourself.
Spawn, you knew it.
You played yourself.
I literally gave the answer away and then copied someone else next to me.
Right.
That's a terrible strat.
Yeah, it's like you took the test and then handed it to your friend and then cheated off your own test but did it poorly. One of those situations. All right, question 2. Which LCS game has so far been the biggest comeback? Is it A, Immortals versus TL in week 1? Is it B, TSM versus CLG in week 1? Is it 100 Thieves versus EG, also in week 1? Or would it be in the C9 versus TL series, game 3 of the lock-in finals? Where did the biggest comeback occur? Meaning biggest deficit overcome.
Biggest goal deficit?
Yeah, biggest goal deficit overcome. And so it could have occurred at any point in the game.
Given the monumental throws we've seen from CLG, I think it's B.
Primal's going with B, TSM versus CLG, week 1.
I was also going to go with B, but now I feel like I have to do the Spawn thing where I'm like, I need to pick something different.
Should have been faster.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm trying to think of how big of a gold lead EG had. I'll go 100 TEG.
I'm going
C.
I'm going B as well.
Oh, so now you're not a contrarian, Spawn. What happened?
I said B before Primal said B.
Yeah, you're correct. Don't you worry about it. Don't you worry about it. You are correct. It is TSM versus CLG. It was an 8.8K gold difference that was recovered from. A very impressive one. Waiting for the first one that comes above 10K, though. We've had a few of those in the past. Those are always exciting. Question number 3, third and final question. Name a champion that has ever had 100% presence in the first round robin. Bonus points if you can name the split that champion occurred.
Aphelios.
100% presence, meaning
Aphelios.
picks or bans.
Aphelios.
In the
mood gun
history
guy.
of the LCS through the first round robin. So that would be 9 games for each team. So we've got Aphelios. Do you have an idea of what split that would have occurred?
Literally pick a split since he's released.
Yeah, so any split since the introduction of Aphelios, and Aphelios is the call there. Primal, Emily, what are you guys thinking?
I have no clue. I'm gonna go.
I'll say Kaisa.
I'm trying to think of. I want to go back to like a split that's like super in the past, but I also think
There's a few.
There's a few and like a bunch of champions that were like broken on release. Like I remember like on release Zyra, on release Lulu.
So I have before we're not going to show it yet. I'm just going to let you guys know. I have a list of 7 champions that have all met this metric. One of those has actually occurred in this split, which you guys have not guessed. But I still have the Aphelios guess and the Kaisa guess.
Olaf
for this split is what Primal's guessing.
All right, that's my final guess.
Okay, so Olaf over here.
I'm going to go Yuumi. I think Yuumi was 100%.
When do you think Yuumi had 100% presence, though?
2019? Was it on release, right? 2019.
You are correct. 2019 summer,
Yes!
Yumi had 100% presence through the first round robin. We are also correct in the Olaf call for 2021 spring, still 100% presence at this point. The ones that I'm actually kind of surprised weren't called out were things like LeBlanc. Just, even if you didn't know which year, just remembering that, like, for example, LeBlanc has always had periods of absurd dominance in the LCS. What I was surprised wasn't on this list, though, to be honest, was Kassadin of old. There was a period of time where Kassadin was like 98% presence, I guess, but barely missed out. And that would have been probably my guess if I were in the driver's seat. Do you guys think Olaf will remain 100% presence, though, for much longer? Or is he going to disappear here soon?
Not on 11.
Yeah, there's no way he remains 100% Big Ben. I mean, he's been nerfed. Goredrinker got nerfed. I think we should be seeing him fall off even as soon as this week from 100% presence, but probably on next patch.
No,
Fair enough.
No,
Fair enough.
they disagree.
Oh.
I really disagree. I think Olaf's super busted. And then, like, jungle experience is such a fickle beast because, like, when we take experience out of the jungle, if we don't take enough, well, if Riot doesn't take enough, then you actually have to play the power farming junglers because otherwise, if they play power farming and you play tank, you just fall, like, 2 or 3 levels behind. So I think Olaf is here to stay, unfortunately. He's, like, I don't enjoy really watching him, but I think he's here.
Time will tell. We'll see soon enough. Just a couple days of games till we hit that end of the first round robin. We'll see, though, if Dignitas goes up against Cloud9 in our first game of the day today. You know, sitting towards the top of the table after the 4-game win streak, and their most recent win was catalyzed by a huge play from Fake God, delivering his team the Grubhub dub.
Yeah, and this was a really heads-up play from Fake God. You know, we see he's tracking the Narbar, he goes for the flash, gets a 3-man stun, and this was a play that really snowballed the game. It felt good to just watch Fake God have a great game because he hasn't been doing great in lane, but he was a huge carry threat this one.
Picking up that delicious dub. Now, in honor of Black History Month, Grubhub has added a filter that lets you support local Black-owned restaurants in your community. Order using the code GHLCS for 20% off and earn additional deals through the Perks tab on the app. Go check that out. I got to order myself lunch after this segment's over. We'll see if Dignitas, they can continue their streak as our eyes move towards the jungle, of course, where Dardoch has continued his no-repeated jungler run in 2021. But is his and Dig's rise the real deal, or as they aim to take down Cloud9 today, Spawn, where do you fall on this discussion?
Well, I do not think that they will beat Cloud9 today. However, I do think they are a legitimate contender. When you have a look at Dignitas at the moment, they have the 3rd quickest average win time in the LCS, and I think that that points towards metrics that they know how to close out games and that they are playing a really great brand of League of Legends. And then, when you put them to the eye test, they are also playing multiple style. This is a team that is willing to pick Seraphine, a champion that I think is straight up busted, but continues to fall through LCS's drafts. They are playing very well around Dardoch, but it's not like other members of the team aren't performing well. Soligo has been a pleasant surprise. Fake God as well has been really good, and I think Afro is seeing a resurgence. So all round, I think this team has the pieces to make it work, but better yet, they have the mindset to make it work because they continue to show that they are on the same page.
Primal, you're shaking your head.
No way, man. Okay, so contender means winning the split, right? Do we really think Dignitas is going to take a best of 5 over TL or 100 Thieves or C9? So, look, I love how they've looked under the Dardoch dictatorship, but at the end of the day, we do have to consider the strength of schedule. So far, they've beaten FlyQuest, Golden Guardians, Immortals, CLG, and EG. Out of all of those teams, only one is even considered potentially top tier in EG, and recently they haven't looked so good. The other 2 teams they've played are 100 Thieves and TL. They did not look good versus those teams. Their solo laners are both bot 3 in the league statistically. So, yeah, it's great that they're 3rd in the league in terms of closing out games, but at the end of the day, they're closing out the games versus teams that are kind of weak. So, I like Dignitas. I love to see them succeed, but they are not a contender.
It's funny, they're closing out games that are against teams that are kind of weak. Apart from that IMT team that ran over TL, or that EG team that was all of a sudden a contender in, the play-in lock-in tournament, but then all of a sudden isn't now. Like, the reason these teams aren't considered contenders now is because Dignitas is beating them. It's not the other way around. It's not like they were bad before playing Dignitas. It's Dignitas made this team look bad. No. That's
super cherry picking. Like, no one was considering IMT a contender even after they beat TL. That was like, oh wow, this team had a really great game. Revenge had a pop off, but no one was like, oh, this team was a contender. Dignitas beat them, and now they're pretender. That's cherry picking stats.
Well, I do think in some senses as well, we're going to have to wait until the last 2 games of the first round robin are completed. A lot of people like to cite, strength of schedule up until you've gotten to that point where every team's played everybody to really determine what the pecking order might be here in the LCS. But I want to get Emily in on this conversation, but maybe colored a little bit with the perspective of Dignitas' style as now has been deemed the Dardoch dictatorship.
Yeah, so I know we're going to load into game really soon. I'll try to make this quick. I really like what Dignitas has been doing because I think they have a pretty clear-cut idea of how they want to play. We're going to go through a few of their level 1s, and, suddenly everyone's here to protect Dardoch's jungle, to protect his first clear. And while sure, Primal is apparently calling it the Dardoch dictatorship, I think it's really, really cool, this running gag he has with playing a variety of champions. I don't think it's particularly like, oh man, I'm just going to pick a random champion. The blue cane, guess what? We've seen it in LCK. We've seen it in other regions. So, I really love how much flexibility this team seems to have while still having a really clear-cut understanding of how they want to play as a unit. Like, you see the flexibility in their drafts, and obviously here with, we're looking at Blabber and Dardoch's champ pools, the shared champions they had, and 2 notable champions in Olaf and Rek'Sai that Dardoch has yet to play in his quest to play every jungle champion. But I like the combination of a very clear-cut style with enough champion flexibility that they can kind of do what they want.
Yeah, and I'll just add a quick point. I totally agree with everything Emily and Spawn have both been saying about Dardoch and Dignitas looking good. If they beat Cloud9, then they are a contender, but not before.
Ooh! Okay, all right. Well, I'll check back in with you then in about a half hour or so when this game is over. It's time for me to give the reins over to Pastry and Kobe, though, as we get into that face-off between Dignitas and Cloud9.
Thank you very much, Josh. Half an hour. That's an awfully fast game. But I guess who's going to win? As Cloud9 versus Dignitas is going to open up the day. And I have to agree, Kobe. Yes, I've enjoyed watching Dig play. I think they're a really exciting team. But this is a very real test for any team in the LCS right now. Cloud9 on top, tied there with 100 Thieves. Absolutely fearsome opponent, as they basically always have been.
Yeah, we're opening with another Cloud9 game. Yesterday was incredibly exciting when we had them versus CLG. It was a lot closer than people thought it was going to be. And today we get to decide if we are going to issue the ticket to Dignitas to be a contender, as Primal will deem it so after a Cloud9 loss here, if that ends up happening. Let's get back to that jungle check-in for Dardoch, though, honestly, because we got to lay down our bets quickly on the next champions. Remember, he has not played Olaf or Graves, and as far as doing a giant jungle challenge where you're playing a different one every single game, those 2 seem like 2 that easily slip in here with the current meta. Olaf banned away by Dignitas themselves, so that one's off the board. My money is on Graves right now, but very well could be the same ones I went for yesterday with Rek'Sai.
Yeah, I'm here for at least. We'll see. And Rek'Sai is a good note as well, because Blabber has been really good on that champion. He's actually eaten a ton of bans in recent games, and is already going to eat 2 here, with Olaf and Udyr just being too powerful. Last ban is Royal for Dig, which you like to see, and Naraway from Fake God, Seraphine, and Azir, the 3 Cloud9 bans. So really good target and also good to strong meta picks by Cloud9. So it is going to start off with Fudge's Gragas. That can be flex, it could be jungle, could be support, could I guess be mid if Perks is really feeling it, but this is just such a good flexible champion that I think if they are going to give it to Fudge, is just so much insurance, because Gragas just can do a lot with very little in the early game and then carries you in mid to late with a team fighting Presma.
Yeah, he's incredibly flexible. I mean, you can do multiple builds, you can do multiple skill orders, even just in lane, either maxing Q or W, going AP, going full tank. Quick on the picks and bans here, though. I also have a very high priority on the Senna Tahm Kench. That is going to be fasting Senna for sure, farming Tahm Kench. He's going to eat up, and that gives you a very powerful Aphromoo. We've seen them with Aphromoo teleporting in as support Tahm Kench to defend Dardoch's level 1 jungle just last week, and it turning out really well for Dig. So locking this combo in again for Neo and Aphromoo. Does provide a bottom lane that's very safe. It doesn't put out a lot of pressure, but Renekton definitely can put out pressure, even against Gragas, who is one of the better ones at sustaining through that.
Yeah, both teams feel pretty prepared here, actually. So it seems like Cloud9's prepared response for Senna Tahm Kench, which they expected to give away given how this draft has gone, was instant Ashe Lulu, which is kind of cool. We'll see how that one works out. Hecarim, though, the next ban, so going to take away more of Blabber's champions, and I imagine both junglers here are probably going to lose a couple, although maybe not, actually, if you're on the Cloud9 side, because realistically, what do you ban away from Dardoch? He's already played 11 different champions.
They're turning the tables here. Dardoch is going to start banning away from you. Blabber and Dardoch, two of the jungle players with the biggest champion pools thus far. It does feel kind of like a shot in the dark here to throw out bans at both of them, but taking away Hecarim when you see a Lulu is always a good idea, because a Lulu does not just have to buff up your AD carry, can easily buff up Blabber, and anytime Cloud9 have supportive champions, they very often use them to buff up Blabber in multiple situations. So taking away the Hecarim for that hard engage, definitely a good option here. I'm curious to see too. If it is going to be a Vulcan Lulu, which I'm assuming it is, very well could be flexed to one of the solo lanes. I definitely doubt it, but it is there, so keep that in mind as far as the Gragas and Lulu, both very flexible here for Cloud9, like the opening to their champion select, and you can see, Dignitas switching between a lot of different roles here as far as bans they're throwing out.
Yeah, Fud has actually already played Lulu top. It didn't look great in the game he played it, but he has actually already played it in lock-in, so it is possible. Nidalee, though, banned away from Dardoch. That's one of the champions he has played already, and he lost on it. Syndra banned away from Siligo because Ryze was banned. I actually really like that ban from Dig. Just Siligo's probably going to play a mage here. Can't really let Ryze go back over to Perks, given how well he played on it yesterday. And if you do want to pick TF, Ryze is pretty good at matching that, so does want to take that here, takes away the Ryze as a result, but that is going to leave Tristana the pick there, which is, with Ashe already in the game, probably going to be a mid laner.
It for sure is going into the TF, because when TF tries to make a side lane play, Tristana takes your turret, basically.
Right.
You get right up there, one wave is enough time, explosive shot on that sucker, and you can definitely do some demolition work, as the champion is known for. So we'll see about this Twisted Fate priority, because I was going to jump right on this for Dignitas. I think it looks really great. You have Renekton top, you lock in a Twisted Fate. Your top side of the map is extremely dangerous, and teams have had success, at least in lock-in, putting pressure on Fudge on that top side of the map. But now, when you have a Tristana mid lane, Cloud9 are saying, if you want to throw things at Fudge, go ahead. We're going to make you pay for it.
No! Combo breaker, Kobe, no! Dardoch's going to play Kayn again, which is fun. Kayn's awesome, but unfortunately, Dardoch, after 11 games, has repeated.
Honestly, you don't want to keep it up just for the memes, and this actually is a pretty good Kayn game as well, since you have multiple squishy champions that you can assassinate very easily. So I'm assuming that it's going to go blue Kayn again, because unless he focuses top side only, definitely is an option there with the Twisted Fate and Renekton combo we talked about, though. So actually, it might be a little bit more flexible this game rather than the one we saw previously, but the blue Kayn definitely has gained a lot of momentum.
Actually, one of the things I was going to point out before they got to the pick is the other thing I like about Dig's draft is it actually plays around the jungle really well. Like, they're giving Dardoch last pick. They're potentially counter-picking like some jungle we haven't seen yet, or just wanting to make sure they can set up for something like the Kayn if that's the jungle he was going for. And like, when you have a strong laner in Renekton and a Twisted Fate, it's very easy for Dardoch to move into the enemy jungle and try and fight people, or into lanes, which is what he wants to do. So I think they're set up super well. Time Camp Center is awesome if you want to play weak side bottom lane, which, given the draft from Dig, you're probably expecting. I do think Tristana changes the dynamic a lot of how mid lane works, because, as you said, it's much harder to get away with roaming often on Twisted Fate when Triss can just take all your towers. But it's going to be a fun one. Like we said, definitely a big test here for Dignitas, as Cloud9 have continued to gain strength since losing in the lock-in finals. But Dig on the rise potentially could take a game here and tie things up with Cloud9. They'd actually be, I guess, in striking distance of the top of the standings if 100 Thieves lose today.
Yeah, looks like it is going to be blue Kayn again here, as seen by the Dark Harvest for Dardoch. They're looking at perks. He does have Cleanse as well as the Flash, though, so at most it would be Summoner's Blown if they're able to make that collapse happen. Dardoch's going super deep, see if he gets a ward down. Does not actually even drop his Trinket ward. Possibly just looking for a little bit of a move there towards perks. Kayn, though, annihilates Raptors just as well as Lilia does, so expect that red quadrant start for Dardoch. And the moment of truth we'll see is, does he actually go for the full clear red quadrant into bottom side, or does he actually try and make an early visit up towards the Renekton? Because the quicker you can start getting some souls racked up, the better for Kayn. even if you start on top side and you get some red orbs off of the Gragas. Look at that. Raptors are gone, Pastry.
Goodbye. They've disappeared. Dardoch's going to walk straight through and into the Krugs, so taking those small camps first. Other thing of note, it is actually surprisingly not fasting center. That's a Doran's Blade in Neo's inventory, not a Spectral Sickle or any sort of support item. So is just going to be farming it up, which we have seen. I feel like it has been less successful because soul scaling is just so powerful, but certainly still a good combination, even if you're swapping the roles of TK and Senna. So a slight difference. We'll see how it plays out in the game, but just wanted to note that I am surprised to see that it's not fasting Senna this time.
So my idea on that is that when Cloud9 answered the early Senna Tahm Kench lock-in with Lulu Ashe, and you're facing now all of a sudden double ranged, you can't get the same value out of fasting Senna because a lot of it does come down to a more even matchup where Tahm Kench doesn't have to worry about this double harassment from Lulu Ashe every time he tries to kill off minions. And he could actually farm up, and that also allows the Senna to go for these trades. But when you have Lulu Ashe here, heavy poke early on, double range advantage for them, it puts a lot more pressure on that style, and they decided just to have Aphromoo sit back so they don't soak a bunch of extra damage, let Neo do the farming.
And let Dardoch do the farming too, as Vulcan is actually going to roam up here. Gets a poke down onto this ward. Should be able to take it with that sweep, as Ven actually going to go ahead and collect it, so they split the gold. Very nice of the Cloud9 support to give a little bit of extra money over to his AD. I don't know if they spotted Dardoch, but I think they have a good idea even if they didn't, as Saligo is busy being pushed in by Perks. Definitely expected here, especially early on in levels. Tristana, always good at pushing and can't really do much as a mage when you can just have to auto-attack the wave against someone that is designed to auto-attack against you.
Yeah. Meanwhile, for Dardoch, since he did focus small camps, I love these types of clears. Where he went Raptors straight into Krugs. He can just cross right back through mid into second spawn of Raptors. Second spawn with the extra experience here, super duper efficient. Basically right as it comes back up, then head up to Krugs and get to that really quick level 5.
Well, looks like Saligo actually ate quite a lot of damage from Perks, but Perks did use his cleanse. So I'm guessing gold card and just offensively cleansed it to shoot him. As Blab is going to take both squatter carbs, actually. That is one of the concessions Dardoch has had to make with the way he pathed, and also I think just given the state of mid lane at that point. So Blabber does get double crab, which always feels good for the jungle, but again, Dardoch is flying through here on the Kayn, so should be just fine as he retakes his small camps on the top side of the map. Bottom, actually looking fine for Neo, farming back nicely. Afro, of course, is playing support, so doesn't need to worry about that, as you mentioned, which is a good call out. But Sven and Vulcan are pushing aggressively here, which is something we should expect when they counterpick this lane so aggressively with Ashe and Lulu. Good snare they're going to land, but no follow-up damage as the shield from Vulcan comes down. And Dardoch is looking around here in mid again, but Tristana pretty tricky champion to try and gank.
Yeah, and you see that ward right there. Saw him on the approach path. So Perks is hovering bottom side.
Good buffer.
Plus he's got the buffer. Cleanse was blown in the last exchange, but able to dodge out on most of the damage.
Counter gank here from Blabber now. That's going to force a flash to Luga now with the gold card ready to go, but the first blood is on the table. Smite is there. Dardoch, though, he's going to go down. It's Blabber that gets it. Flash order for the first blood. Saligo chasing out Perks and just barely going to miss out. Flash blue card. No, he's not in range. Oh.
Just too far away there. Saligo in the split second can't pull it off. Perks able to dodge out on the Kayn W, but not the wild cards there, so it takes a little bit of the extra damage. Blabber goes in for the flash just to reposition away from Saligo and get out of range off of that kill with the extra speed too, able to get away. Perks then dodging those wild cards, and they've got out with it. What an outplay here, the 2v2 for Perks and Blabber. First blood locked up for Cloud9.
It's tragic. And I know like blue card TF's a big meme, but that's actually the correct card because it does the most damage. And insta-locking TF cards is not easy. So, unfortunately for Saligo to use the flash and not get the kill, but going to keep up in lane nicely as both mid laners have actually finished their boots, but the 2v2 does indeed go to Cloud9 as Dardoch deciding to visit somewhere else here. Vulcan and Sven have been pushed up pretty much all laning phase long, and Kayn, much like Rek'Sai and Shaco and those champions, can do this kind of thing, especially when Twisted Fate's around. It's going to be Sven that's the target. Afro who's going to flash in, and that's going to be a great counter kill there as Dardoch is going to grab that one onto Sven.
Ooh, money right into the pockets of Blue Kane here for Dignitas, funding some extra long swords for Dardoch shortly, plus grabbing some of those very precious blue orbs for his transformation. Blabber comes up to try and answer, though. He's level 6.
Going to
He
sleep.
can sleep him.
Oh, he's in the wall. Comes out though because he falls asleep. There's the Eep though, as Vulcan's going to follow up, and Dardoch just taking too much damage. It's Vulcan that's going to grab the kill.
And just like that, off of your first play there for Dig, Dardoch gets caught by Blabber, walks up with a level lead on Lilia, level 6, finishes it off. Objective earned. It was a really good start, though. This Twisted Fate aggressive play with the Kane gank, able to get the last hit here, execution for Dardoch as well. But on the return here, a little bit lazy, not respecting Blabber, who just walks right up. There was Smite available for Dardoch, so that's why he was sticking around, but he just lets Blabber walk right up into Q range. Doesn't even have to land a seed or anything to land that sleep, and that's right into Dragon. He continues power clearing. It's now a 2-level lead for Cloud9's all-star jungler.
I like that the power clear in this case includes the Dragon. That's just how much prancing around the jungle that Blabber has been doing.
It includes Dardoch, too. He's got the Dardoch camp, he's got the Dragon camp, you know, just clean the entire map. Everything in front of him is just more golden experience.
All right, well, looking good here. Cloud9 up 1,000 gold off of this early game, plus that Dragon. So feeling good. Blabber with the Seekers already done as well. Going to make battling Kane and maybe Renekton, but mostly Kane, that much easier, which is nice. But Dardoch here going to at least try and trade cross-map in the extension of all this back and forth between the junglers, and wants to take this Rift Herald here. So Ligo going to move in to make sure that happens, and it doesn't look like Cloud9 are in the area to contest.
So with all of this early action in the favor of Cloud9, it really does make this mid-game difficult for Dig to play out with their comp. Because even with the Twisted Fate first ultimate grabbing a kill for Dardoch, since Cloud9 actually ended up getting that Dragon and got a counter kill, funding this huge level lead for Blabber, they don't have the priority in jungle that they really want to be able to combine with this Twisted Fate. And now you see it being so rare that a Twisted Fate team like this does get constantly invaded, but you've got your Tristana mid, constantly pushing up. Blabber is just so fed. He's taking away more resources from Dardoch, from this Kane, and he's going to maintain that double level lead here. It becomes so oppressive now for Lilia. This is every single crab thus far in the game picked up by Blabber as well. He's just controlling all the resources here on Summoner's Rift. Even though Dardoch's able to pick up that Rift Herald, that's kind of a drop in the bucket for them as far as a little bit of extra gold they can use, but really still lacking in the experience department.
Yeah, I know we don't really we don't talk about this much because the calculations don't work exactly the same for jungle, but we talk about 20-30 CS leads as being very significant for laners. That's the lead that Blabber has against Dardoch right now in farm, not to mention all that XP as well. Still 2 levels as the numbers look right now. So been an awesome early game for Cloud9, and Blabber has continued to show just how good he is, regardless of opponent. Still, there's battle left here for Dig. Falling behind in gold, certainly feeling the pressure, but we've seen them make plays already with the Twist of Fate in bottom lane, can certainly look to repeat that. And also Fate God's doing quite well in his isolated 1v1. We haven't gone top lane because there's been no time, but Renekton is certainly primed to maybe make a play or have someone come up to his lane and make one with him.
I mean, classic top lane play here from Fate God. Hey, I'm doing my job up here. What's going on down there, everybody? Map is on fire, it looks like. You can see on the mini-map, too, right now, mid lane, the Tristana with the explosive shot passive pushes up the lane, constantly pushing this Twisted Fate in, then gets right up to the turret. That is down to 1.5 turret plates just with perks working away on it. The Rift Herald went over to Dignitas. This is not like a Rift Herald or anything. This is constantly pushing against Twisted Fate, explosive shot over and over. He's got Cleanse Flash, so he's ungankable. Still has his ultimate, plus always has Rocket Jump to rely on. But here's Twisted Fate.
That's such a good route there onto Sven, but the heal is there. Actually, it's Wild Growth, and now Blabber moving in. He's got 3 with the ulti. Going to put them all to sleep as Tom Kench gets to devour, but Saligo is going to be the first one to fall as Fate God TP's in. Gets a stun, but Blabber with such an early Zonya is going to get out of there. Jumps away, but no, Fate God is able to finish it off, and now Dardoch against the turret takes a tower shot that he probably didn't want to, but Dignitas are actually going to get away with just a 1-for-1 trade.
And that's terrible, Pastry. A 1-for-1 trade, and you sent 5 members bottom. Not only is Perk's going to take that mid turret. That thing is gone. But top side as well, Fudge finally gets to push across halfway point in top lane. So he's even going to get some money for himself off of a turret played on top side. Maybe Dig go again, though.
Ooh, the re-engage with the Tom Kent. Very sneaky. Dardoch over the wall. Vulcan now in the alcove. He's going to be fighting Fake God, Afro, and friends. And Neo going to easily pick up that one. Dardoch does get a few more orbs, so Sven at least gets away. So, 2 kills with 5 people down at the bottom lane. Still not great, but Dig with a very nice little re-engage there. Afro with a very creative use of the Abyssal Voyage.
All right, we can go through this once again, but you already know the ramifications of this are going to be so much gold in the favor of Cloud9. Blabber's here for the initial counter, gets a 3-person sleep, even though they eat up the AD carry here. Neo, flash in for stun, is delayed by the Zhonya's from Blabber, still ends up going down. As you said, 1-for-1 with the entire rest of the map pushing is fully Cloud9 favored. But they try again. They use more time here. Nobody recalls. Afromu goes in with the ultimate from Tom Kench, and they get an extra kill. This is going to be a drop in the bucket, though. Cloud9 already have Gale Force here on Perks. So you thought this Tristana was hard to catch before with Flash Cleanse, Rocket Jump, and Buster Shot. Now also Gale Force added to it. Perks is going to have some real fancy dancing moves for you for the rest of these team fights.
Yes,
Don't expect him to die.
Just a ton of like extra bursts. Like that is a very confident purchase here for Perks. We've seen a lot of shield burst. Shield burst, an excellent mythic that we've seen on a large number of different champions. Fake God at least is going to get this top outer tower, by the way, which is good use of the Rift Herald there for Dardoch. It was probably close to timing out as well, so did need to get value. Does indeed give the tower and the plates over to Fake God. Second Dragon, though, over to Cloud9 as they continue to play pretty quickly here in this one, up almost 2,000 gold. It looks like they're diving bottom lane, 4v2. And now what do you do? As Neo pops the Black Mist, he's going to try and buy a little bit of extra time, but Perks could actually just maybe finish off the tower if he's got enough space. Minion Wave, they're running out. Means that Dignitas' duo lane will stay safe for now.
Yeah, dive's pretty risky there because you're playing against Twisted Fate. That was an Ash Arrow
It was.
from Sven. Swing and a miss, we'll say. Saligo just walks right forward. But yeah, that dive would have been really ill-advised. Twisted Fate ready for the counter there. The tower was not in range to get bursted quickly enough. And if you have a stun coming in with Twisted Fate, Dardoch flying in on the...
Oh my goodness. Perks just popping up again. I said a Gale Force, just one of those items. Perks in, Perks is out. He takes out Dardoch in a 1v3.
Who's ganking who here? Perks is able to go right back in. Teaching Dardoch a lesson. If you come at the king, you best not miss. Tristana return damage is insane here. Oh my goodness. All right, they're going to keep going.
Yeah, tower's dead. Who else is though? That's the real question. Fudge there lining it up. Ooh, Afro with a good angle on the flash. Gets himself out safely. Perks are not done, of course. But now going to have to be as Afromu devours Neo safely away, and Saligo is off to the side lanes. But you can see, even after just that first Twisted Fate ult, they got Dig a kill, right? That's a good play. The cost that he had to pay to Tristan, all those tower plates and that gold, is just cascaded now into this massive open map where Cloud9, who are already ahead, are only getting further ahead.
Yeah, I just like the answers that Cloud9 had in the draft when we were talking about, okay, if you're going to spend resources going at Fudge, we're going to punish you the rest of the map. Perks, as we said, full combo, kills off Dardoch. Explosive shot blew up, so he can W right back out as well. Full reset there. He uses the Gale Force to perfection. He's still got both summoners, level 11 on the Tristana now. It's going to be pretty easy now to rotate him around to clear up the last outer turret. He's incredibly difficult to try and pincer. There's no effect of a Twisted Fate teleporting in on him because of Cleanse and being able to cast Rocket Jump right as the card is about to stun you to be able to buffer it and still get the distance. So looks like Cloud9 keep him in the side lane, push up ahead, even against Fake God, who is the big winner for Dignitas because he got the isolated lane versus Fudge on Gragas. Well, Twisted Fate pick.
Looking for Blabber. Zhonya's again, but no Rocket Jump here for Blabber. Good flash, though. Great flash, actually. And maybe going to turn it back around. Dardoch going to be put to sleep. Tom Kench is there. Does devour. And now Perks just looking for it. He's like facing 4 people. Just doesn't care. Saligo's going to be the target. Perks walking forward, but now Fake God finds it in there, but Perks dunks him away with the Buster Shot, and Dignitas are going to have to disengage.
Nice to take a little nap inside Aframu's belly. If you're falling asleep, jump right into Tom Kench to safety. Riftherald started up. Fudge is really far away, but Cloud9 still poking around.
Saligo also forced to TP back in. Is there from base, and it's going to be a 5v5 potentially here. Dignitas though first to the area, but C9 walking back in. Ulti cooldown's not really available for either side, but Digger going to try and finish the Herald first. Everyone juking them skill shots. Fudge is looking for the angle. Ready with the body slam, ready with the ulti. It's going to be Dardoch that he wants, but in the front side, and it's Blabber getting shielded up, and he's okay. Saligo gets peppered by arrows from Sven. Dardoch already zoned out, and Perks is going in again. Saligo's the target. They're going to take him out, but he goes golden for a moment, and is now Perks going to finish that off. That's one. Now Afro trying to devour up Neo as Fudge is still keeping everybody down. Looks for the follow flash, but Fudge doesn't quite find it as Blabber has taken out Afro, and Neo still dead to Perks at the end of the day as Fudge has tanked up everything, and Cloud9, they're going to make it 3 clean kills.
Yeah, looks like this one will not be as close as the C9 game yesterday. Pastry time. All dragons, all towers going their way, and all fights as well for Cloud9. Perks probably not going to die this entire game. Right now sitting at 3 kills for himself, continuing to push ahead. Every time they get a teamfight victory, they can take so many objectives as well. Here's a look at the chase. He did so much damage here, forcing Fake God out initially, and then Fudge over the wall finds Dardoch. So Dignitas are sitting here, a numbers disadvantage, trying to run away back to their own towers. Doesn't even matter that Fudge does not hit this flash on his body slam flash here. All he has to do is tank up the turret for Perks to be able to come in and finish the job.
And of course, kind of the other person involved here for Cloud9 alongside Perks has been Blabber. So we can see Sven also doing plenty of heavy lifting in that team fight, just constantly issuing out damage as the Ashe. But Blabber, Kobe, has one of my favorite Lilia items, I think, in the whole game. Blabber has Demonic Embrace second, which is sweet. It's just
Fan
so
of the
cool.
burn, are you?
Yeah, I think used Deathfire Touch a few too many times when that was a rune way back in the day. Ulti,
all right.
Hits one. Dardoch actually great devour from Afro's Fake God. Going to be busted shot back. He's just really not got much tankiness to speak of as he falls asleep at the wheel. Not where you want to be, as Neo's going to be the next target. Cloud9 going to make it too, as Blabber's already taken down Fake God. And Blabber, in fact, going to collect both kills there. Saligo's ulti just reveals the information they already had, which is that Cloud9 have killed you twice and taken the dragon.
Yep, and with all of the flashy plays from Blabber and Perks and even Fudge on the initiations, this DPS workhorse, Sven, on a Lulu buff up Ashe is just pumping out the DPS, running from the backside. This one, he does hit the arrow, but Gragas is so good versus Tom Kench. Even though you can devour the arrow target, Fudge hits the Gragas ultimate, Fake God gets annihilated on the split, and C9 can just chase down the rest of the members. It's immediate scramble there for Dig to try and get out of town.
All right, well, Stormrazer now finished for Perks. He's actually working pretty rapidly on item number 3. I feel like he's racing his jungler for kills on items this game. It's 3-0-3 versus 5-1 and 2. Combining for 8-1 and 5 between the jungler and the middle lane of this game. Cloud9 looking unstoppable so far. They're up about 5,000 gold and counting. They're going to have a very fast soul as 4 minutes time. They'll get to play for the Infernal Soul if they want it, which I'm sure they do. And Baron is actually a very real target they can look at here, given that they have 2 marksmen and a ton of damage built up already.
I wonder... Okay, I guess we'll just see the...
you don't have
right
time,
here.
Kobe. I'm sorry. Neo's already dead. Explosive shot in. Perks wants it. He's going to get the kill indeed. He's on a rampage. Does root his teammate there off to center W, but it's fine as they're going to take the tower as well.
Okay, yeah. I was like, I wonder if they just go for diving now. Yes, they do.
Yep.
Perks jumps right in. Blabber's able to hit, and Cloud9 do not have to stop anytime soon. Baron is under their control. Plenty of control wards. It just spawned at 20 minutes, and yet plenty of threat here for Dig to even go look for vision.
Blabber, that's just so dirty. He just waits for Dardoch to go over the wall. Sven's going to set it up. The Eep happens there. Dardoch's still the target, burning down again. Is Aframu going to go down to the arrow? No, what a great save. It's a Blabber. He's over the wall with the blast going from the Infernal Rift. Make sure the kill gets finished off. Now has to prance back towards safety as Fudge is there, but Fake God's in the way, but Blabber is going to be escorted out safely of the enemy base.
Yeah, just walks on right out. Make sure they finish up on the extra kill. Aframu down, tower down as well. And this looks like we are going to beat James' 30 minutes
That's true,
timer
actually.
on this
Take
one,
it back.
Casey.
He was right.
You're thinking, yeah, that sounds kind of quick. Well, Cloud9 challenge accepted.
And looks like completed. They got 8.5 minutes or so to do it. They're going to finally take a reset. Spend some of that gold that they're building up from taking all the towers and killing all of Dignitas' champions.
Yeah. I kind of do like, back to your earlier point for Lily and Demonic Embrace, because, yeah, you know, I love the percentage health damage versus guys like Renekton that build so much health and have more health in their ultimate, and, you know, Aphromoo on the Tahm Kench, even though he's not a farming Tahm Kench, but it's also the tankier Lilia build. And I kind of like stepping away from the more squishy ones. This is one of the ideas when Lilia first came out, to be an AP bruiser. Demonic Embrace really is that AP bruiser item with the extra bonus armor and magic resist. So that plus Azonia's, we've seen how difficult it is for them to take down Blabber. He's only died a single time, and that was in the bottom side play. Perks with red buff, though. That one's going to burn.
Gale forces in. Ofegod's just so dead, as Perks is now unstoppable. Fudge TP'd in just to spectate, I think, but wasn't needed as it turned out.
Yep, not needed at all. Perks has everything under control here. Rocket jump into reset there. Gale Force as well. Red buff on for good measure. And I guess we'll just see Cloud9 pushing in. They don't even need the Baron here. Finish up on the outer towers. They could even continue the pressure on Inhibitor turret, but I expect them to draw back at the Dragon. They've got 1 minute to play around, get a little bit more gold, take this bottom turret. Maybe they find a pick, you know, with a Swirl Seed or something from Blabber, but no reason to risk anything here. Dragon will spawn shortly. Infernal Soul is on the menu.
All right, well, Infinity Edge now done for Perks if, you know, he needed any more damage to take out the enemy with. 50 seconds. Now to that Dragon, Cloud9, they're going to go ahead and do their warding of the Baron side, it looks like. Just wanting to make sure there's no possible trades that Dignitas can opt in for. Also don't even, like, need the soul. They'd obviously like it, but Dignitas are so far away from even threatening a significant Dragon of their own that Cloud9 can instead look to trade Baron for Dignitas' first Dragon, which, if you're on the Cloud9 side, it's an excellent trade.
Yeah, thing is here, Cloud9, they only need one member. Any member on the team can take care of this Dragon. And as long as they keep up some vision on Dig, well, they can.
Oh my goodness, Perks just explodes poor Neo. Aphromoo is going to go as well as Perks. One marksman takes down the whole bottom lane. And now Saligo in danger of falling asleep, but does get back out to safety with his ulti. But Cloud9 are busy trying to win the game here. Again, they've got a time limit, Kobe. Trying to win out of 30 minutes here as Perks going to look to make that happen onto Saligo, who's found himself ulted into the base and right into the face of Perks and Fudge. Body slams in, but it does miss there as Saligo is forced to flash away, and now Perks got Blabber behind him there again. They're just closing the trap here under the tower. Asleep goes Fake God. Goodbye goes Renekton, and Saligo going to be the next one as Perks going legendary, going to grab 2 more kills. And now Dardoch, the only one left alive, is haunting the body of Sven, who he takes out. But Perks is like straight face tanking the tower as that crit almost took out Dardoch. And Perks, he just wants to kill, he doesn't care. He gives away the KDA. 1,000 bonus gold to Dardoch. And it might not matter.
Oh, Perks really feeling it on that one. That's what we expected here. Coming over. You can take Perks out of G2, but you can't take the G2 out of Perks. He goes for the kill instead of saving his giant bounty. That is now picked up. Yeah, Space Tree, maybe it is a drop in the bucket with the giant lead that Cloud9 have. But Digger happy to have it.
Yeah, I mean, they'll take it. This, however, not so much. Perks isn't here, though, so perhaps this fight is a little bit fairer. It's actually going to be a 4v3. Saligo TP's in. Make it 5v3 as Fake God's joined in as well. Blabber going to be the target. Great. Where did that even come from? We'll figure it out later. Dardoch's on a killing spree. Taking out Gragas as Fudge is going down. That should mean Dragon finally over to Dignitas.
All right.
There we go.
They can stop the soul. Blabber's going to try and steal. He's sleeping.
All right, asleep is Dardoch. Sven is there, reveals the area with a hawk shot. But everyone's okay. Dig, they get the Dragon and they get out safely. That has not happened that many times this game.
If we look back at this game and Dignitas are actually able to make one of these miraculous comebacks from this ginormous early deficit, and the cause is Perks jumping in for a kill rather than jumping away, getting over the bounty, then losing out on that Infernal Soul there, it will be the most ridiculous story that we have had all year in an LCS game.
Oh, no way, no way! Saligo! He stole it! Are you kidding me?
This story, Pastry! Please, Dick! You gotta be able to make this story come true. They take the Infernal Soul deny. They take the Baron steal with Saligo. Oh my goodness. Now they have to hold though. This is the hard
Yeah.
part, Pastry time. Cloud9 are coming to finish off the base, Baron or not, and you need to hold now, Dignitas.
That is just, we'll talk about it later. C9 trying to end the game here because they know what just happened and they're going to try not to let it affect the result. Certainly would be the biggest comeback we've had this split. Thank you, Jeopardy, for informing us before. But unfortunately for Dig, they're just losing bodies here in their fountain as Neo going to get kicked back by the Buster Shot. Fudge with a great ulti splits the uprights and knocks Fake God into the enemy team in the waiting arms of Perks. He's still not done. Neo going to get reset on. That's a triple kill. Is it going to be a Penta yet again? A different marksman this time on the Cloud9 side of Saligo is going to fall. That's the Quadra, and you know they're diving the fountain for the Penta, Kobe.
Oh, Perks, get in there, everybody. Oh, okay, they want to finish. They want to end. They want to end. That's good coaching right there, Pastry time.
Discipline. Rainover's taught them well. Okay, it's not done. I take it all back. They're going for it again. They still got the timer. Perks is jumping in. I think he's got a little bit too far forward. He has indeed. And doesn't get it. It's 1,000 call to Afro again. But thankfully, Vulcan and Blabber, the DPS Kings, are here to finish off the Nexus. As Dignitas, despite the parent steal, will not find the cover. Can Cloud9 win a ridiculous game to go to 7-1.
I love Spellbook Pastry time just by the fact that we get things like that where mid laners randomly switch over to Smite, stealing
even
away
have
Barons in
Spellbook?
big moments. Yeah, he did.
Oh, he
Twisted Fate
did,
on
okay.
Spellbook.
That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, the Tristana though from Perks.
Wow.
So big this game. He was able to give away 2 maximum bounties, fully stacked up bounties, and it didn't even matter. Cloud9 with the stomp.
Yeah, just an awesome game. And I think we've seen like lots of different attempts at answering Twisted Fate, and often it's like you're picking a different global to try and outroam or match the roams, right? You're either picking Rise because you can push and control the wave and use your ulti and just your general mobility to roam around after you push in the wave, or something like Silas. We are straight up trying to steal the ulti and do a Twisted Fate impression to match him when he roams with his ulti. This Tristana seems like a much simpler and more potent answer. Whereas Twisted Fate leaves, you just tell your team not to die, and Tristana takes the mid tower. And then all of a sudden, even if Twisted Fate gets a kill or two, it hopefully doesn't matter because your Trista's already opened up the map and given your team gold to a point where you can just go from there. Like, Trista's one of those picks where, in this scenario, I liked it a lot, but I also think it's just going to be a mainstay if she stays at this power level because very flexible, very powerful, and clearly very effective. And Perks showing that off here in this game.
All as expected from Champion Select. Blabber, I think, deserves a lot of credit for this game as well, though. Honestly, the Lilia play, so many counters for him. He was able to have a really good route as well as getting so much value off the bottom lane play into picking up Dardoch and then controlling all Scuttle Crabs for the first 10 minutes of the game, probably more than that. Stopped counting after that point, and Cloud9 with a very, very dominant early game. They basically said, yes, Fudge up there on the Gragas, just ignore it, basically. Yeah, he's going to have a CS deficit versus Renekton. It's not going to matter.
And certainly did not, as it is time for us to step away. But when we return, we'll have Vulcan in the Verizon post-game interview. We'll see you there.
Dreams aren't achieved overnight. They take passion,
It's Mr. World to me.
dedication. And even then, there are no guarantees. But for the LCS, that's the power of dreams. It means you never give up. It means you always play again. Honda, proud automotive partner of the LCS.
Welcome back to the LCS, everyone. We just finished up a convincing game for Cloud9, so I've got Vulcan here for the Verizon post-game interview. We're just talking about the game a bit leading into this and about maybe not expecting them to not go with the fasting Senna lane. Did that change at all how you ended up approaching the laning phase yourself?
It was a bit different for me because usually Tom is farming and then I spell thief, so I can farm a lot of gold on him when he goes for minions. And then in this lane, Tom obviously doesn't have to extend as much, so I didn't end up getting like the gold lead that I usually do in this matchup. So it was a bit different, but I think even though the lane's not as good, I think our champions are good throughout the whole game versus theirs, so it wasn't too big of an issue. But I was a bit surprised that they would opt for the farming Senna instead of fasting, because I think fasting Senna makes a lot more sense because of the amount of stats she gets from souls in general.
And we did actually get to see a lot of team clash between you two fairly early on, a lot of which involved locking down Dardoch early and getting kills on him. How important do you think it is separating Dardoch from the rest of the team when it comes to defeating Dignitas?
I don't know. I wouldn't say like he's required to be taken down or anything. I think he's playing funny champs and like all that, but we didn't like go into the game thinking that we were going to shut down Dardoch. It just happened to be that we had a lot of pushing lanes and we were able to play around it to make Blabber get a lead, and that's usually like how we play, right? So we didn't feel like we had to go into the game and shut down Dardoch or anything. I think we just went in and worried about ourselves more than anything.
Yeah, you mentioned, of course, wanting to get Blabber ahead, but also the pushing lanes. When we're looking at this team as a whole and everyone putting their best foot forward, Perkz really feels like he's coming more and more into his groove game to game. Is that something that is shared by the team as far as a feeling?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously like in any new team, I think it'll just take time for everyone to mesh together. And I'd say we meshed like pretty fast considering we went to the finals of lock-in, right? But we still have a much higher ceiling. I think like there's so much for us to still improve on, and even though we've been playing for a while, there's still like more synergy to be developed between me and Perkz and Blabber, like the three of us together. It's a very important like kind of trio that we have to play together during the most phases of the game. And yeah, it'll just take time, but I'm happy that like we're not struggling while we try to mesh together. We're still able to show up and win those games, and yeah, so we only be better from here as well.
Last question to you. You do have Team Liquid coming up next, who are in the middle of the standings, but would you still consider them one of the largest threats here in the LCS?
Yeah, I'd say TL, like just for this year, looking forward to the rest of the year, right? I think they're for sure like our biggest rival, and it's been like that for the past few years, right? So they're obviously the team we preferred for the most during this week, and we're all excited to play against them, and we're all very confident going into the match, and it should be a banger. So,
well, looking forward to a banger tomorrow. We had a banger today. Vulcan, thank you so much for speaking with me.
thank you.
We've got more to hear here on the LCS broadcast. Let's head over to the State Farm analyst desk.
Thank you very much, the Tigers. A banger that was, and it came in just underneath 27-30. So I'll just, reference that once again for the casters who didn't believe the 30-minute game time that I threw out. But as well, I think we answered the question, pretender, contender, or maybe not. We'll get into that in just a moment. More importantly than anything, I think, is the fact that the Dardoch dream is dead. We got our second Kane game. Let's talk about it. Let's talk draft. Why?
I was gonna say I will talk first because I actually really like I liked C9's response to the Senna Tahm Kench lock-in. I think their kind of commitment to getting lane prio, especially with the Trist mid, I really liked. But then the Ashe Lulu is kind of the thing I think everyone's going to talk about. Again, another pushing lane, gave them bot prio. I think it was really, really important in this game. The only lane they didn't really have consistent priority in was topside because Renekton is going to, go into that matchup, and I still think Gragas is a great pick. I don't know, I just thought this was a really good response to what Dignitas have been doing in their previous games.
Yeah, but I agree with you, Emily, and I just think that, you have top prio, fighting mid lane because you have point-click CC, and then a bottom lane that can be played away from because you have Senna TK. Mm-hmm. So why is Dardoch pathing to the bottom crab and throwing my game? Like, I just don't understand sometimes what these junglers' decisions are, because the thing is, like, every single Kane wants to start red side. Like, I know that this is just really common knowledge, right? But the Raptors into Krugs, into the red buff, into Wolves, Blue Grom double jungle, into bottom crab is like obviously a really great scenario for any Kane player. But if that can't happen, you can change your jungle path to end topside. And that's not what we saw. We actually saw that he got double crab, then he went for a gank on mid lane, which was quite greedy when you're behind tempo, gets punished, falls down another 2 camps, then goes for a 3rd gank down here on bottom lane. This one actually did work out because they're able to grab the kill, but it's like at what cost at this point? He sticks around for another scuttle crab, gets chased off this one again. It's level 6 to level 5 because of all the early shenanigans that went across. And I feel like at this stage, you know, the game is just incredibly difficult to be able to play if you're Dignitas. I was really disappointed kind of with the early game jungle pathing. I think finishing bottom side is really rough, and Dardoch got punished for it.
You see, and this is the problem with the Dardoch dictatorship, which is that dictatorships fail, right? When the man in charge is not able to carry, this is what you get. And even in the draft, we see how much Dignitas prioritizes Dardoch, right? They were on red side, they had an opportunity to counterpick a solo, and they chose to actually save jungle for the last pick because they want Dardoch to be in position to carry the game. But when you have situations like this where his pathing is off, his coordination with his mid laner is not as good as C9's, you start to see situations where there's no ability to carry from anywhere else. So this is a win for democracy over dictatorships.
Always love to see a win for democracy. But within the conversation of Dignitas as a team, the one thing I will say, as everyone's got their head in their hands, is that I'm excited by the fact that this team comes up with creative plays. Recognizing that, you know, a couple of the plays they had made didn't necessarily net them the advantages they were looking for. They don't look to roll over and die and say, hey, what we did didn't work, let's give it up. Always coming back to throw another punch. You know, on the flip side, though, Cloud9 is the team probably most capable of mid-game adapting and kind of going with the flow of all of our squads.
Yeah, and that's what I want to talk about, because it's not like Dignitas weren't willing to send this one on a flip play, but the thing is that you're flipping against one of the best skirmishers of all time in Perkz. And when Perkz is playing at his best League of Legends, he's calling these audibles in games, he's making sure that the team is all on the same page. Dignitas used everything to try and set up this Herald. They used a teleport to be able to get back into the fight. They were looking for creative flanks. But at the end of the day, Cloud9 were too far ahead, and they're too good at this particular playstyle. But as you were mentioning, Dash, like, I think it's really interesting that we nearly saw another pentakill in a game where the enemy team wasn't just going to roll over and die. And that's why I think we're seeing so many of these multi-kills, because when you're significantly far behind, but you're willing to send it, you're just willing to, like, you know, flip a play over a second Rift Herald, you're willing to contest a Baron buff or something like that. You're not going to wait until your Nexus turrets are down and then KDA protect in the fountain. Afro did a little bit. But, like, I think that that's where you get these big multi-kill scenarios coming up.
Absolutely, and something to acknowledge is, you know, as individual players, we saw all of the members of Dignitas try to make things happen. We saw Soligo especially look for plays on bot, look for plays around Baron. I think I mentioned during the countdown that Soligo and Fake God were bot 3 in terms of stats in lane, and that actually wasn't a fair characterization of Soligo. Based on just the Spring Split alone, he's actually doing pretty well. If we look at Lock-in plus Spring Split, it's not as rosy of a picture, but, you know, there are some good pieces here, and we see good proactivity from these players from behind. So overall, yeah, they didn't beat C9, but I think we could still feel pretty good about Dignitas' performance across the league over the course of the split.
And in reference to Soligo, I'm going to steal a little phrase from Mark Z. Head tap to him for one of the most inventive Baron steals we've seen with the TF ult into the Baron pit with the spellbook smite to take it away. All for naught, but it was a fun play regardless. I do want to return to the conversation around Perkz because I think it's fair to say, you know, we spent $5 million on a player to come to the league. We had high expectations. Lo and behold, when you put him on the correct champion in ADC, you get the $5 million player that you paid for.
I don't think that's necessarily the point. He is obviously a really good ADC player as well. I think the most important thing here is, like, I already mentioned what Tristana does in the mid lane to, like, open up this map. Here we go, N.A. Martin popping up.
I know, he kind of agrees with me.
I think, yeah, the ADC reference. I think the big thing with Perkz is, like, not only, I guess when he came here, people were expecting him to just have, like, insane stat lines every game, et cetera, but I think the real value of Perkz is something that we talked about a little bit in Countdown, which is not just a shot calling ability, but his ability to make plays on the fly, his ability to cross map, his really strong understanding of how to trade on the map where. And when you have a Tristana that's kind of opening up the entire middle of the map for you, that's like an ideal scenario for Blabber, right? It's an ideal scenario for C9. They can kind of go wherever they want to after that. And so I really think that when people were discussing perks, they were like, oh, I don't want to see him on any more Galio to help the team or whatever. I think this shows like he can play a variety of different styles in terms of champ pool, but that is, he's like, when he's communicating with the rest of the team, this is kind of the perks that we want to see, like stat line exempted. Obviously, it's an impressive one.
Yeah, and I think in addition to this being the perks that we want to see, I think this is the perks that he wants to see as well. You know, I know he mentioned in an interview with Ashley Kang, I think a week ago, that his expectation of himself as a player is to be actually more oppressive in games, right? And if we look at this game, then yesterday in the game against RJS, he has been producing huge advantages in mid and creating his own pressure, creating his own opportunities. So if you have a player who's super good in lane and they provide all this game management as well, that's a pretty scary threat and definitely worth the $5 million.
Yeah, between yesterday and today, 2 massive performances out of both perks and the entirety of the Cloud9 roster. We're stepping away. When we return, we got CLG taking on Immortals. We'll see you here.